Imagine this wild island in Mexico, where creepy, decaying dolls are everywhere you look. It's super eerie. You see them hanging from trees, nailed to walls, and even floating in the water, right? It's wild how they pop up everywhere. Their glassy eyes stare into nothing, and their tired limbs show the weight of time. It's like they've seen it all, right? Locals affectionately refer to it as La Isla de las Muñecas, or the Island of the Dolls, a place that's both eerie and fascinating. You won't believe the wild story behind the guy who actually made it. Seriously, it's a total roller coaster ride filled with surprises and twists. A guy claimed he's being haunted by the ghost of a little girl who drowned in a nearby lake. Crazy, right? In the 1950s, a man named Don Julian Santana Barrera moved to a small island in the canals of Xochimilco, just south of Mexico City. He left everything behind, his family, his friends, his entire life, to live alone, surrounded by water and the sound of wind in the reeds. One day, while tending to his garden near the canal, Julian made a horrifying discovery: the body of a young girl, drowned and tangled in the lilies. He really gave it his all to save her, but sadly, it was just too late. As he stared into the still water, something unexpected floated toward him, catching his eye. It was a small, colorful bottle, bobbing gently, like it had a secret to share. A tiny doll lay there, eyes wide open, her hair all tangled in weeds, looking so lost and alone in the wild. He pulled it from the water, feeling a mix of sadness and hope, and hung it on a nearby tree as a tribute to the girl's lost spirit. It was like a little reminder of her presence. You know, that little act was just the beginning of his crazy obsession, right? It spiraled out of control. Days later, Julian began to hear whispers. Soft, childlike giggles echoing through the mangroves. He saw toys moving on their own. He became convinced the drowned girl's spirit was still there, trapped between worlds, crying out for companionship. He began collecting dolls, one by one, some even floating in the canals. How wild is that? Others, he traded for food from passing boatmen. He hung them on trees, nailed them to posts, and tied them to branches. He thought that each doll he hung would quiet the whispers. But oh man, they always came back louder than ever. What started as a tiny little gift totally spiraled into this wild obsession. Right? It's just hilarious how that happens. Julian went all out over the years, covering the whole island with thousands of dolls. Creepy dolls with no heads, missing eyes, and shattered porcelain faces. Yikes, right? He really believed that each doll held a spirit, keeping him safe from bad vibes. He even started chatting with them, bringing along some fruit, water, and heartfelt prayers. Visitors who passed by in boats saw him wandering the island, muttering to himself, surrounded by his silent plastic army. The villagers said something in him had changed. He grew paranoid. He told people that the girl's ghost was angry, that she wanted him to join her beneath the water. And the dolls were just sitting there, quietly watching everything unfold around them. Locals and visitors began reporting eerie encounters on the island. Dolls that seemed to move their heads on their own, eyes that blinked, even when the air stood still, felt oddly alive. Whispers floated on the breeze across the canals. Giggles, sighs, and soft cries filled the air, creating a magical vibe. Fishermen were convinced they spotted faces staring back at them, just below the surface. Others heard splashes when no one was near. Some even claimed they saw a little girl, standing at the edge of the island, only to vanish into the mist. Tourists started bringing new dolls as offerings, hoping to calm the spirit, or at the very least, keep her from following them home. In 2001, after almost 50 years of being alone, Julian was out by the canal, working with his nephew. He told him the drowned girl was calling out to him once more, pleading for him to come. Hours later, his nephew found him face down in the water, in the very same spot where the girl had died decades earlier. The villagers said it was fate. Some folks whispered it was the curse finishing its cycle. That day, the island took another soul, and everyone felt the eerie chill in the air. The island of the dolls is still there, just as it was. Creepy and quiet, right? It's like stepping into a horror movie, where those dolls seem to watch you everywhere you go. Tourists drift along the canals, snapping pics. But hardly anyone hangs around for long. They come and go, soaking in the sights. But it feels like they miss the magic of staying a little longer. The air feels super heavy, right? The dolls, now all decayed and covered in moss and creepy insects, still hang from every tree, adding to the eerie vibe. Their hollow eyes seem to follow you wherever you move. And when the wind blows, their heads turn, ever so slightly. Locals still bring dolls as offerings, hoping to charm any spirits nearby, you know. Some claim they've seen Don Julian's ghost, wandering between the trees, whispering to the dolls he left behind. You know, some folks say you can still hear that drowned girl laughing right just beyond the waterline. It's like her giggles echo through the waves. Psychologists might say Julian suffered from extreme isolation, that he imagined the voices out of loneliness. But you know what? Those who've actually been there share a totally different vibe, and it's honestly pretty amazing. Dolls aren't just toys. They're like little vessels full of stories and memories. You know, each one holds a special moment, just waiting to be shared. Each one holds the memory of someone who was lost, abandoned, or forgotten. And sometimes, late at night, their faces seem to change. Their glass eyes glisten with life, and their lips part like they're ready to spill some juicy secrets, you know? On that island, the line between the living and the dead has always been super thin, you know. The island of the dolls isn't exactly a pretty sight, right? It's super creepy. Just imagine wandering through all those hanging dolls. It's like a horror movie come to life. It's a graveyard of forgotten souls, a shrine born from madness and deep sadness. You can almost feel the weight of the memories hanging in the air, right? Even if the dolls might decay over time, their amazing stories will live on forever. You know, it's like they carry all those memories with them, right? You know that feeling when you just know they're staring right back at you, right? It's like you can feel their eyes on you, making you wonder what they're thinking. You start to wonder, are they really watching you back? You know, it's super creepy, right? Like, you can't shake off that feeling, can you?